What's up, everybody? It's Frank here with Royal Pool's G2 Landscaping. Today I'm going to show you how to properly install an in-ground pool pump, being the Hayward Tristar 950 after this. All right, everybody, welcome back. Today we are going to be talking about the installation of the Tristar 950 from Hayward. So the first thing I want you to do is, when you actually get this pump, you're going to have a manual. If you don't have the manual on hand, you can actually Google this. I would Google Tristar 950 Hayward manual. You'll find it anywhere. So when we're installing this, you're going to want to follow the manual to spec on there. It's very important, and there's a couple things. It's not majorly difficult, but there's a couple things in there that do make a difference. But the first thing we want to talk about is, if you are plumbing a whole equipment setup, your pump, your filter, your heater, you're going to want to do a dry layout. So you can see here the pump is offset from the filter, and then you got the heater down there. So what happens here is you're going to want your suction lines being your skimmers and your drains at bare minimum. You're going to want to know how many lines you have up front here. This is the suction side of the pump. And then you're going to want to line up the return side of the pump, or the outlet side of the pump, as close as you can to your filter. The goal here would be to eliminate as many elbows. We don't want that Windows screensaver from 1998-ish. All right, so with that consideration, first things first, Hayward wants you to rest all their equipment, and I would recommend this on every major brand, or every brand of equipment, on a concrete slab. This one we have a 4-inch slab poured. It's about, for the total Hayward package here, the pump, the filter, the heater, you're gonna need about 3.5 to 4 feet by about 7 feet. That should give you enough space to put in whatever you need. If you're using a bigger item such as a UV ozone, maybe give yourself an 1/8 foot on the length. But you're going to want to rest this on a concrete slab or a reinforced pad, not a generic air conditioning unit pad from Home Depot, but something that's more reinforced, like the Hurricane pad you'll find online too. So let's get started here. So now that we have this rested, this is already installed obviously, but now that you have it rested on the pad, you're going to want to start with the front. Planning is going to be crucial when it comes to these things. We know the front of the pump draws the water in. It doesn't actually suck, but it draws the water in, and we also know that we have one skimmer line and one set of main drains. So instantly, we know we're going to use a 3-way Hayward diverter valve. You can actually find these online too. I would highly recommend no ball valves, but what this does is it allows the water in both directions. You can actually close off one side and keep the other side open. Again, it's just a 3-way diverter valve. Know the size plumbing that you're going to use, and we'll get into that section right after this, but this happens to be a 2-inch here. So this diverter valve will take 2-inch on the interior and then 2.5 on the exterior, which means you can couple and reduce into it if you had to, but 2-inch on the inside always looks better with these. So we know this going into it, so we're going to assume there's a straight pipe coming out right into your diverter valve, and then you're going to want to glue these kick-ups from the pipes that are directly from the pool into here. All right, so once you plan that out, the next thing in the Hayward manual is you're going to want a little bit of headspace in the front. So the simple formula for this is pipe size times 5. This is a 2-inch pipe, so we're going to take 2-inch times 5, and that gives you 10 inches of headroom. What that means for the pump is it's going to help stop the turbulence. You can go longer if you'd want, but the minimum is going to be 10 inches here. So the easiest way to do this is take this stick. These unions are actually get attached. They come with the pump, by the way. Take this stick and make sure it is bare minimum 10 inches. It's going to get received into here, about 1.25 inches, received into here. And what happens is now you have the perfect pipe size, bare minimum, the perfect pipe size to stop the turbulence from going in here. What that means is the water will not rock as much going into the pump, making it more hydraulically efficient. All right, so I know this pad is already plumbed for you. I do apologize. The guys had to get moving before we can get here. But just to back up, you're going to set your pump, pre-plan your manifold up front with your drains and your skimmer. We know the 10 inches. We're going to start here. We know the 10-inch rule for this pump being at 2-inch pipe. So it's the size of the pipe times 5. When you pull this pump out of the box, you're going to see a nut, a tail piece, and then a gasket here. So before you start gluing anything, have this 10-inch pipe cut at 2 inches here. What happens here is you're going to get these little O-rings. You have to put this in anytime you have the nut. So this piece is the nut, this is the tail piece. So once you put your O-ring in, you can actually take this, press it up against here, and that's how the seal is going to happen. So I want you to get your nut on the pipe, and then you're going to have to PVC primer and glue the pipe in. Make sure you can slide the nut over, removing it. Tail piece is in place. We're going to slide the nut right over, make sure we're nice and lined up. And if you actually read the nut here, it says in bubbled out print here, only hand tighten. Please do not take channel locks or a pipe wrench to this. So get it hand tight, give it a quarter turns, nice and snug. What's going to happen is the tail piece is going to compress against the gasket, and the nut's going to tighten it all together. So now you should have this pipe in, your nut and tail piece in with the O-ring, and now you can start building off with your three-way valve. So that planning up front is going to be crucial. The same thing is going to happen here on the top. You're going to want to put, excuse me, you're going to want to put your O-ring in the pump, slip your tail piece down, and then tighten up along here. So from there, once you build out the front, you have this all locked and loaded. Now you have room to start building your return side. It's pretty straightforward from here. You're going to want to line up your filter, give yourself as much space as you need to get it efficiently plumbed. The key here is getting your heights right. I would start with the nipple coming out of the top of the pump. You can leave yourself a little high, and then I would start the nipple here, and then you can actually build your elbow and your elbow out to your straight part. We want to make sure we have as little of elbow as we can. Unfortunately, with this setup, we don't have equal elevation, so you're gonna have to build these up to the proper sizing. So water will come in, hit the pot, kick out, and efficiently go into the filter, back out to the heater. All right, so a couple things to remember when you're doing this. You're gonna wanna use PVC primer, and a heavy-duty glue is what I would recommend, or you can get a pool glue called Pool Type. We call it blue glue. It's heated glue. You're gonna wanna prime all your fittings one at a time. Don't pre-prime all the plumbing. So if you're gonna glue this pipe into this nut, you're gonna wanna prime the pipe, prime the nut, or the tail piece, I'm sorry. Put your glue on, then put your glue on, put the pipe in there and give it a quarter turn, and you should get a nice tight seal. Moving on to the next joint there, and so on and so forth. All right, so essentially that is how you plumb it. So by the end of plumbing, you should have your manifold built up front. Remember, this is the suction side. It will draw water in, and then you should have the top plumbed out. The last thing in the manual that we want to discuss here is you're going to want to anchor your pump down with concrete Tapcons or some type of system if you aren't using concrete. There's basically fins on the bottom of every pump. You're going to drill a hole, put a Tapcon and a washer in, and a Tapcon is a concrete screw that will actually tie this down to the equipment pad, helping it stopping vibrations. When it comes to the back end of the pump, this is a variable speed pump, so there is a control panel on the back here. Now, if you have automation, you're gonna have to follow the directions here. I'm not gonna go over the electrical today, but you can actually control this pump from the touch screen in the back, or if you have automation like we do behind us, we're gonna run a communication wire in here, and you'll be able to control this pump from your phone. All right, so when it comes to the electrical stuff, I'm not gonna actually cover that. I'm not a licensed electrician, but you will find in the back of the manual how to do the low voltage and the high voltage. These pumps can both take 110, 220, or 120, 240, however you want to word it, single breaker, double breaker. I would follow the direction manual or hire a licensed electrician. And also remember, all pumps, heaters, anything that has to do with electrical flow, you're going to want to ground them out to a bare copper wire, out to a ground rod. Again, follow your directions from the Hayward manual, and we'll see you guys in the next one.